Welcome to the Eskrima podcast. My name is Jason Enai, and I'm an Enai Eskrimador. It's Monday. We're just about to the last stretch here, or really just in the last stretch towards the 2023 Magsaysuro Memorial Workout. This is an event that I've held every year, except for during COVID, for us to celebrate the life work of my father, my family system, and just promote Filipino martial arts. I'm pretty excited this year. Gonna have some guest instructors. In the past I've had people like Grandmaster Michael Huron. I've had a number of other people that I've brought in, past instructors I've invited that were gurus under my father that had faded into obscurity for a while, brought them back, and made sure to essentially promote the arts. I usually have someone table the place for equipment, as our norm is FMAsupply.net. We're looking forward to having Mike Ruby there, in addition to him being a guest instructor. So with that, what we're doing is we're going to have him show us Dos Pares Eskrima. He said he's going to possibly do Espada Idaga from them. So that's pretty exciting. In the past, I've had my friend from the JKD, Kali Inosanto thing, Chris Harley. He came in and taught Silat this year. That was last year. This year we're going to have Mushtaq Ali Al-Ansari teaching Chamandi Salat, so that should be exciting. And he's my teacher for Navadisha Asikanampunya, which is his structuring for what he learned from his teacher, a Moro. So it's a type of Kali, Muslim Kali. It's very cool stuff, very exclusive. And I'm very fortunate to be one of like 5 people in the world that have been trusted with the art that's around these days. And then we're going to do, of course, some Enai system of Eskrima. I'm very excited about Stockton Multi-Style. As I said in the past, I had Grandmaster Michael Huronin of original Huron Eskrima. So this time we're having Jun Kotiko, who I've known for a long time. I've always held in a lot of respect. And of course, Terry Joven, also of Stockton Multi-Style, and a number of their other instructors will come to assist to teach SLD, which is their Sorada Larga de Cordes. They have, of course, a lot of other material there from, Great Grandmaster Emeritus Leo Huron and John Eliab, and my dad's senior into a Revelar. So it's pretty exciting stuff. We're gonna have a great time. Looking forward to just having some camaraderie and fellowship with all the people that train in the United System of Eskrima, support the United System of Eskrima and the United Training Organization, and are just fans of Filipino martial arts, as well as probably members of Kilohana. So very excited about that. Very excited about the opportunity to share the art with everyone, and not just share the art in terms of teaching, but share it in terms of experiencing the art together, which is a great privilege. Over this last weekend, I was over at the Martial Arts Collective Society's The Gathering, hosted by Hanshi Bruce Jutnik, and had an opportunity to teach alongside people like Grandmaster Carlito Onjok, Master Jeff Finder, Eugene Napenge, who taught a little bit of Teovelo Balintawak, but also Kalisa Listrisimo. Master Guy Kananahan was there for his own session, so I just got to actually just see him again. I haven't seen him since I had done a Dumog seminar in Sacramento, but he was there for Kakwe Dos Pares, but he actually graduated as a guru under my uncle Al Conception, and that my father oversaw part of that because my uncle Al and my father were always close. I got to see my auntie Mary Tovar. That was pretty cool. So there was just a lot of great people there. Chris LaCava was there. He's a Stockton multi-style, but he's in South Carolina. He was selling some blades. That was really cool. Got to see Senior Grandmaster Harry Green. Very fun, very fun. There's just so many people. I'm sure I'm missing somebody there. Oh, I got to meet Nick Merchant, who was a Master Jet Fighter student who recently won the week half World Championships for his weight division using Serrada, and he runs the Serrada group out there in New York. So there was a lot of great people there, a lot of fun. Of course, I got to spend some time with Datu Tim Hartman, and get to say hi to Hanshi Bush-Jetnik, see a lot of the other people. I got to see Terry Dow again, and of course Superfoot Wallace. So great event, a lot of fun. Got to teach quite a few times there. It was nice to get out and show the part of Filipino martial arts that I like so much. I discussed timing. I discussed how to read tells. We worked on the idea of attacking to elicit responses to continue to attack. And so I worked on a different level. I got to, the best part was, and this is the last, if you watched the last podcast, I had Brian Parker on with me for that, because that was actually at the event yesterday. Or actually, yesterday morning we recorded that. But he assisted me, and that was really cool, because so Brian's background as far as FMA is concerned, right, is that he's a closed door student under Hanshi Bush-Jetnik for Serrada, and Bruce's teacher was Manong Angel Cabales, right, and I got to see him at Mace, and he got to experience the way that I teach Serrada, and it immediately was something that resonated with him, I guess, and he wanted to know more. So the second time I get to see him teaching, he happens to be helping Horatio Rodriguez, who's an eminent Silat instructor, and very, very nice man. And so I see him, I don't have an assistant, so I'm like, hey, will you help me teach class? Because you're the only one that's like a member of my organization, and you're here, and you get an opportunity for me to give you like a private lesson if you want. So he didn't ask, at first he didn't ask for anything. He said, go, whatever we want to do. But then later on, he's like, everyone says, that the Serrada can be done with a knife, or just a knife, not stick and knife or sword and dagger, but just a knife, right? So I used that as an opportunity to just briefly demonstrate, because we were working on, supposed to be working on long range, and so I expressed largo mano specifically from the point of view of largo mano isn't about necessarily moving away or being long range, but just not being there. The way that we explain largo mano is it's being elusive, defanging the snake, and just remaining in a state or place where it's difficult for the opponent to strike us, as opposed to we're too far away, which is the way that's usually interpreted. And so I expressed that through Serrada. My uncle Remy Estrella was one of the original Stockton Eskrima group's members. If you look at my Uncle Dan's book, Filipino Martial Arts, he's in that book, but not in that book because he's covered up by other people in the picture, but he's listed in there, right? So my Uncle Remy is the first person that made instructor under my father, trained directly under Manong Angel and Manong Max, and my mother's brother. So it's not just my Filipino uncle, he's actually my uncle. For those people who want to say, well, he's not your uncle, And it's funny about that. As a sidebar, the idea that you want to do Filipino martial arts, but you would rob me of the right and the obligation to acknowledge people in my close acquaintance for my family as a family tradition. You can be in family tradition, but you can't have your family tradition or your ethnic tradition. That's silliness. Anyways, so my Uncle Remy, he felt that he could learn his Largo Mano and needed to only learn his Largo Mano from Manong Angel. And so I expressed this idea at the gathering this year. And it was fun. It was fun. Brian seemed to enjoy it. I seemed to enjoy the reaction from him, as well as others, as they, kind of saw Sarada in a slightly different light. It's my assertion that Sarada is a very rich art, a very deep art that has many, many layers. Shrek would say, like an onion, right? So we got to show just a piece of that, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the challenge of trying to conform what I'm teaching and what I can teach in these general topics. That was actually done at the last session on Saturday, which was just like all Eskrima instructors teach any kind of Eskrima. And I started off with, so all the instructors are Eskrima Master. Carlito's there, Eugene Nepenge is there, Harry Green is there, Dennis Duarte is there. Dennis, great guy, by the way. One-Way Martial Arts, I think is the name of his art, his organization. But either way, really great guy out of Sacramento. And so we're all there, and we're all palling around and stuff like that. And so I stop and go, I'm sorry, the category says all Eskrima instructors spelled with a C, and I know that's how you do it, but I spell my art with a K, so I guess I'll go away. They're like, no. Just joking around, because I think all that stuff is funny. My own amusement. Anyways, so, it's always interesting to teach under someone else's subject titling. It gives you the opportunity to have to take a step back from whatever it is that you normally do and see it in a different light and present it that way. So it was fun. It was fun teaching at the gathering. It was fun showing different versions of things. So with Chris Kava, I showed it after, basically we were doing outside pass, outside basic. And for those of you who are unaware, if a high overhand hand strike comes in from a right-handed person striking the left side of your head, we call this angle 1. So, is if you're looking out from your own eyes and you look at someone raise their right arm and then try to drop it down on your face. Now there's something, it might contain something, a stick or a club or a knife or a bottle or something, or nothing at all, but it's going to strike you somewhere over here. And we're doing outside, what's used to be called outside basic. The outside basic in Sarada is a parry, a pass with the left hand, and you usually have a stick or a sword in the right hand. And so you're supposed to pass, step outside of it a little bit and pass, and then hit with your right hand after you've done your parry. And so I was expressing something else, so I just stepped out of it, used the exact step, but I was emphasizing the idea that I would step in such a way that the opponent would barely miss. And I was demonstrating and instructing them to be to the point where in practice that a very minor glancing by the opponent as you move through is perfect. And I always say this, under stress, angry, adrenaline, fear, whatever it is, the things that you practice are going to amplify. So, you're going to have to step out. You have to step a certain way, and we don't want to step too much because if in our training that we're stepping very wide, the amplification is going to take us out of position. So, So I'm teaching this and instructing how to do this, and Brian's asking to do hands translation and stuff like that, and using it against knife and everything else. And then with Chris Kava, I got to move in and I showed him what I call an eye socket takedown. It's a levering through with your own tool, your stick, to the eye socket of your opponent. So I had a little bit of fun with that. And then there's this other guy, I never seen him before. I think he's just a student and stuff. He looked very interested, so I showed him what I call the bottle opener takedown. So I move the stick in and I grab a hold of the head in a kind of hold between the stick and my forearm, and I crank the head back like I'm popping open a bottle, and then I just drive down. So that was fun. Some people liked that technique, and it was just really just a way to show, like, as I elude or rather I should say evade the attack tightly, facilitating a near simultaneous counterattack that I can lead into a takedown. So that was fun. It was exciting to see people's reactions and things like that. I just simply enjoyed showing them something that was always there that they maybe didn't see before, or that caught their fancy, if you will. I think it's the best thing about teaching is the empowerment you give someone who can defend themselves, right? So that they can walk the earth and fear no man, right? And then for those who are already getting to that point, or already to that point, to be able to pull back the curtain, if you will, see the old man behind the curtain, and then learn something new. Something that seemed like magic, but it was just an old man cranking a noisemaker and rattling a steel sheet for the thunder and stuff. And you see that Wizard of Oz, and you're like, oh, that was actually simpler than it was, I thought. And I didn't know that you could do that, but look at, there it is, right? And to have them experience that and share that experience with them, and then to get the questions after, like, what about this and what about that, and what if this and what if that. I welcome those questions, because it helps me, right? Like, at some point you have to get to the point where you can learn from the people that you're teaching. Otherwise you don't learn anymore, right? Especially, like, I have my teacher, my first teacher, my father, right? And then I have my teacher now, my Uncle Dan. But most of the time, you're teaching at this time in your development. At least my time in my development, and it's nice to be able to learn from them, but through their questions. Their questions and their statements imply a certain perspective that I don't necessarily take. And so it's a way for me to pull back the curtain and see the old man running that machine, making the magic that I didn't know was there. And that's really cool. Really cool. Really cool. So, and then, I got to participate in a couple of the lessons there too for Eugene Nepenge. And that was fun too. Learning a different perspective, seeing a different way of approaching the same problems. So I super enjoyed the gathering. Banquet was lots of fun too after. And I think that's, like, probably one of the more important things I guess you can hear through this particular episode is talking about, like, sharing and fellowship and camaraderie and community, right? I think it's safe to say that a great many people in the martial arts community suffered through COVID, because you couldn't be in contact with your tribe, right? The people that you shared this experience with, and the community with which you developed connection and fellowship with, is because martial arts by its nature is very contact oriented. Was it something you could do? A number of communities really flourished during COVID because of the Zoom training. Specific instructors or styles and things like that. So that was good, but it wasn't the same. And going to these symposiums, and this year I see what have I taught at the Kuvroth Master Seminar, and I've taught at Superfoot Wallace Symposium in New Hampshire under Terry Dow. This particular symposium here, which is for Bruce Judnick's organization, The Gathering. Not a year ago, but still last year, I was at Mace for, or what was it this year? It might have been this year for their event. That's actually in Manteca, California. So I've had an opportunity to do that, and it's always. I guess I downplay it a little bit, honestly, because I'm always very focused on what I'm trying to achieve in whatever it is that I'm teaching. But there's this underlying value that without it, you learn. I really learned about it during COVID because you didn't have it. Was the camaraderie and the fellowship, and it reminds me of when I used to sit on the black belt testing boards for Quanjinim Ed Fong, and he would talk about it, and he goes, you need to. He's telling these black belt candidates, to look to the left and to the right of them, to look behind them and in front of them, and realize that these people that are around you are the people that help you get where you're at. And it's such a formative moment for these martial artists, very often very youth, and they're achieving their black belt, right? And it's a big step for them, and to understand through that fellowship they were empowered and enabled to achieve something that was very difficult, maybe seemingly impossible. And that's an important part of the martial arts, and that journey that you have in martial arts from not knowing to realizing what you don't know to being prepared to move into the unknown, right? So that's probably one of the greatest things about doing these symposiums. Now that I'm more aware because of COVID and how important it is to the individual, beyond just teaching, beyond learning, it's the connecting, right? I often tell my students, thank you for letting me be your teacher, because I could be a good teacher, I could be a great teacher, or I could be not so great teacher, right? And I'm not a teacher unless I have students. So thank you for letting me be your teacher, right? It's that connection and community, that other piece. Quanjinim Ed Fong was very good about teaching people to teach. I learned some significant things about teaching others and building others up. And Quanjinim Ed Fong was really good at that. He was a student of my father's, and always a supporter of the family system and of my father. He's a peer and colleague of Quanjinim Ernie Reyes and Tony Thompson here at the West Coast Karate Family Arm. They were all together when they would do the West Coast Nationals, this other really big event, and a competitive event that they would do here in the late 70s, early 80s. And this is like full contact stick fighting. This is what my dad would do with my Uncle Jimmy. And I circulate pictures every once in a while. Others do too as well that were there back in the day of, there's pictures of my Uncle Dan Inosanto and, Angel Kabbalah is my dad's teacher, my uncle's teacher for that matter, right? Others, Leo Gahi, Eric Naus, I believe, competed in one of those back in the day. So Gahi is there and everything else, because top dog Eric Naus was a Bikita Tertia guy in the old days. And that community and that connection, I remember, because I was what do they call them? Like a runner. We were just called a runner. And so you're running the scores, and the pool names between the organization table or whatever, and the different competitive pools wherever the like, you know, ring number 5 or whatever, we were running notes passed back and forth between there. Give me a medal here, and you know, John Smith advances to semifinals, all that kind of stuff, right? But I'm not even really paying attention because I'm a kid, and I think Cynthia Rothrock was there, who trained with all those people at that time. This is before she was really doing movies, and Chuck Norris, I think, did a demonstration back then there. But I was all, you know, the stick fighting and, you know, moving around, and I was playing around, and I wanted to buy Bruce Lee stuff and everything else, and that, I think, is one of my first formative experiences of community and martial arts, just seeing all these people. But it's different, though. I think for me, that was always a thing, you know, like, I grew up with martial arts. I can't even remember when there wasn't martial arts in the family, when we weren't doing anything. So I took for granted the camaraderie and the fellowship and everything else. And COVID really brought out the contrast of not having that in there. And so, going full circle in the conversation, like, we're gonna do the Montgomery Memorial this weekend for 2023, and enjoy some camaraderie and fellowship. My Uncle Frank is going to be there, I think. Now, my Uncle Frank learned both from Angel, from Max, and from Leo. He's him and my Uncle Remy, they're only two last living contributing members of that community, of that generation, for the United Training Organization, the United System of Eskrima. There's my Uncle Jimmy Tacosa, whom I talk to every once in a great while, Grandmaster Tacosa. And then my Uncle Perry Craver, whom I get to talk to once in a while, who were a part of that generation back in the day as well. And they're still out there doing their thing, and, you know, helping preserve the art in their own way, which is awesome. And of course, then there's my Uncle Dan Inosanto, who's also doing his best. He's really the person that everyone takes a nod from, in terms of, like, he's in the forefront leading and preserving the art, so and building community, which the Inosanto Instructor Association is a great community that I'm lucky to be a part of. But my Uncle Frank will be at the memorial in all likelihood. And recently, last year, he was recognized as Master Ibsusura, which is the highest attainable rank in the United System of Eskrima. Many of the people that are out there today that learned during that time that I was a student and my dad was still around, learned from him as well, because he was one of the most senior instructors under my father. So pretty excited to have him there. He comes in on Tuesdays usually, if he comes in during the weeks, to teach, and I always try to get him to share a little bit with the seniors, especially, so that way the students at the Bay Area School of Eskrima remain and continue to have a connection with that generation. You know, when Uncle John Peterson was still around, and he passed a couple of years now, I think it is, and he used to always come in class and teach, and he was a big part. Both him and my Uncle Frank were a big part of the current gurus that are, you know, assisting me at the school. You know, Guru, Justin, Guru, Chris Castle, and Guru Lauren. They learned a lot from these guys, and so I try to make sure that we continue that tradition of having the students be connected to each other, but connected to the old generation, and hear their perspective, learn from them their own insights, and be able to gain their own insights from that. That's, you know, a big part of, you know, traditional martial arts, is that connection to the elders, right? And to foster that connection is important to me for developing the next generation of gurus. And I got a couple guys in there, Patrick, of course, he's going to be eventually at some point in the future an instructor. The guys that you don't see in the videos, if you're watching the other channel, Eskrima, or you're an online member, that you'll see there is like Alan Ewers and Kai, who once in a while when he comes and visits because he's in university right now, these are my up and comers, and they're doing really good too, of course. Then there's all the people back in Wisconsin, lots of good gurus there, like Cicero Shanebeck and Cicero Lopez, and Guru Schmidt-Key and Sorcy, Muradic, some great guys. That wider community, just like Katawa Guru, Maringer, and Wilms over in Germany, and Sergeant at Arms Wael over in Dubai, right? So big community. We're going to celebrate that community. We're very fortunate to do that on Saturday, and I got a little bit of time to share a little bit of that community this last weekend. So never discount the importance of community in the art. If Flora Villebrel and DAZN didn't have community with each other, then there wouldn't be what we have today in FMA. That would be hugely different. DAZN and the Serrata lineage and Villebrel and the Cully lineage on the West Coast would be very different without that connection there. And then the Stockton community for West Coast Eskrima would be very different without community, right? There's always been, different trends and tides of contention between people for the Stockton factions, but in the end, they were all friends, and they were all comrades, compadres, if you will, in the arts and in community, and all sat next to each other in the Ilo Club in Stockton. And my cousin tells me stories about getting ice cream money from those old men that supposedly didn't like each other but sat next to each other and had lots of fun at that Ilo Club. We'll see you on the training floor.